I'm Debbie Grummer, and this is my husband Pat.
Yes.
And we live here in Littleton, Colorado, in a home we moved into 34 years ago when our son was 2 years old. And since then, we've had three daughters, and they're all grown up and out of the house now, so it's back to just the two of us. Well, he was at Swedish, and a lot of the therapists there at Swedish, make recommendations and, just talking through and thinking about some of the challenges we might have. And again, he's been disabled for a while, so we already were somewhat familiar with things that were challenging for him. But just in thinking through that process, they had actually recommended Accessible Systems. So, it was one of the companies I checked out. I went online, I looked at a lot of different information. I looked at, feedback that you guys had online, testimonials, whatever, from other customers of yours, as well as these other companies that I talked to. And just after meeting with each of the companies and talking to Ken at Accessible Systems, I just felt so good about your company. And the product too. The product to me was superior than the other chairlifts that I was looking at. But just the whole culture of the company to me just felt right. It just felt really good, and I felt very, very comfortable having your company come into my house and do this work and fix these problems. It's home. This is where we've been for so long. And when Pat had this last stroke, a lot of my friends said, "Oh my gosh, how are you gonna be able to stay in your house? You need to buy a new house. You need to get into a ranch." And I was like, "No, I can't do that." So looking at the stair lift first, that was something that allowed us to stay in our house. It basically turns it into a ranch for us, because he comes down in the morning on the stair lifts and settles in down here for the day, and then at night it's real easy to get him back upstairs to bed. And if he had to go up and down those stairs physically, we wouldn't be able to do it. So this is home. This is where we always thought we'd stay, till the end, and this is making it more possible for us to do that. Timing wise, we were under a time crunch because we needed to have this done and in place before he came home from the hospital. So we had a discharge date, which was a little over a month after he had the stroke. So it had to come together fairly quickly, and Ken did come out on a Saturday to accommodate our schedule, and he was great. He kept apologizing for wearing shorts and saying he was in his casual mode and was saying things he probably wouldn't have said if he was dressed up more, but it was just great. And he was very thorough, and I just felt like he really gave us a good explanation of what, why the costs were going to be this way or that way. And he knew I was working with a budget, and so instead of recommending these higher priced options that he knew I really didn't need, for example, the bottom part of the stair lift extends a little past the doorway frame there. And there's, for another, I don't know how much, I could have had a automatic lift, so that piece would lift up every time the chair went by and then go back down again when the chair came down again. But, that wasn't something that was really necessary. And as well as the power swivels on the chairs and everything, they were just, he spent the time to talk to me and figure out, like, well, where can we cut some prices here and make this more affordable but still make it work for you. And I really appreciated that. We had Ted come out and do the installation. It was only about a week after we made the decision, they were able to schedule us in. Ted came out, I think it was a Tuesday, and was here right when he said he was going to be here, had everything he needed, explained everything to me, showed me everything, and got it all installed, cleaned up, gave me the best thing I thought was, because I'm not super mechanical or great with things like that, he gave me don't laugh, he gave me a really great tutorial on just troubleshooting it, how it worked, just everything, you know, the lights and just everything that I needed to know, to feel really confident about taking care of the system. You know, he trained me on how to use it so I could train Pat when he got home, and just made me feel really good about it. So he was great. He was the first, well, Ken was the first, Ted was the next, that was just really awesome to work with. Great. Once Pat sits down on it, and you know, he's paralyzed on his right side, so he kind of has to tuck his right leg up and hold it in place with his left leg, and then hold on to his cane with his good arm. And so I use the remote, which has been super handy. You know, so I just use the remote to either send the chair up or bring it down, whichever. You know, and so he just goes up, gets off at the top, and we go to the upstairs one, same process, you know, bring him up to the, and it's been, like I said, a lifesaver. Like we couldn't have stayed in this house if he had to go down those stairs, especially at nighttime, because he's tired at night. He has difficulty walking, he has difficulty with his balance. It would have just been so much more dangerous. You know, the fall risk would have been so much higher, if he was trying to navigate stairs. So it's been super easy to use. Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, it has been, for us to be able to use it, and it's like I don't have to do anything.
You just sit down, right?
I just have to sit down and get myself in the chair, and I get, you know, taken care of.
I didn't realize at first that Accessible Systems also did the bathrooms. It kind of came up in conversation, and so I said, hey, you know, would you guys take a look at our master bathroom? Because that was my other concern, was the safety of Pat being able to get in and out of the shower, you know, and just navigate in the bathroom safely, because I think they say there's a huge percentage of 70%. Accidents, there falls that take place in the bathroom. So, and that wasn't as urgent. We didn't need to have that done before he got home from the hospital. So I think it's about a week after he'd been home. James? Okay. He was awesome. Oh, when the day James came, we had all sorts of stuff going on. We had therapists here. It was just crazy. I kept running back and forth, and he was great. He was very patient and sat and talked about everything, you know, gave us an estimate, looked at the bathroom and gave us an estimate on things. And once again, he knew I had a budget. You know, like, this is really all I can spend on this. And so he also made some suggestions on areas where, you know, it wasn't that critical, where we could save some money, like on the faucet, instead of this fancy sliding, I don't know, whatever thing. You know, he suggested just putting a little bracket in there and having the two-piece or the two-part shower head that, you know, that could come out and just stick in the bracket. So, which was a great solution and saved me money, you know. And so talked about some options, and you know, during that time we were using the bathroom, and it was very difficult for Pat to get in and out of the shower, right? Like, yes. Lifting his right foot, he can't lift his right foot more than about an inch or so on his own. So I was having to kind of try to hold on to him and get the foot up and over the threshold of the shower, and we didn't have any grab bars in there. You know, we had the little suction cup things, and that would always fall off, and it was kind of scary. So so after James came out and gave us an estimate, I didn't even get any other estimates, to be honest. I just said, let's do it. So I think then Andy came out and did all the measurements and got everything all squared away, and we chose, I think with James, I chose all the colors and finishes, and it's exciting just knowing that it was going to look so neat too, as well as solve a lot of our problems. The bad thing at that point was they're so booked, you know, they had so many remodels going on that we were looking at possibly 14 weeks before they were going to be able to do the bathroom. But because of it up, and they pushed it up. Gosh, we had the bathroom done. It was the last week of June, very beginning of July, or I'm sorry, last week of May, very beginning of June. Did it in 5 days, start to finish. Got the whole thing done, and fit it in, so we got it done weeks sooner than we were anticipating, which was awesome, that they were able to do that. So it was great.
That's perfect.
Yeah, we were really, really, really lucky, I feel, to have had Isaac assigned to our project. And I had to laugh because when they scheduled him, they said, now when he shows up, take our word for it, he's old enough to work here, and he knows what he's doing. He actually has a family. He's older than he looks, and he is very young looking. But he was phenomenal. I can't say enough about Isaac. He was so professional and just so friendly and so understanding, and I just was blown away by him. He even we talked about how nitpicky we are, and I left him a note one morning. We had to leave really early, and I wasn't going to be here, so I left a note in there, and I said, would you mind, there's a little bit of grout on a couple of these tiles, so before you seal it, would you mind wiping off this little bit of excess grout, because it's going to drive me crazy, and I know you'll understand. And he totally got it. he took care of it, and it turned out just beautiful. It was just, and every step along the way he asked me, where do you want this grab bar? Like what height? Where should we put the corner shelving things? And I would say, well, what do you normally do? What would you recommend? And I went with his recommendations because he knew what he was doing, and he was spot on when it came to what he thought would look best and work best and everything. So I just can't say enough about him. I was really sad to see him go. He was awesome.